Hi, I'm Jody Sharpe, and I write novels about angels, and I've written a children's book. And my sister encouraged me to write my memoir about my time teaching my students with special needs. For 25 years, I taught, and I had wonderful, loving stories. And I finally did write the memoir I never thought I'd write, called Special Needs Children: The Angels on My Shoulder. These students impacted my life so much. And years ago, when I first started teaching, I heard about a book called Angel Unaware by Dale Evans. And Dale Evans was a famous cowgirl singer and actress, and she was married to Roy Rogers, a very famous cowboy and singer and actor, and they had their own TV show in the 1950s and early 60s. Well, they had a child with Down syndrome named Robin, and Robin didn't live very long. And at that time, children with special needs were kept at home. They were not allowed in regular schools. And so Dale wrote a wonderful memoir after her daughter died about how she felt and her husband felt that Robin was an angel unaware, and how she'd changed their life, making them feel closer to God. And it changed their life, just like my students changed mine. And in this memoir, there's such love there. And I always loved that book. I thought it would be wonderful to read, and I never read it. And as I taught, I thought about that book a lot. Well, years later, I had written my 3 novels, hadn't written the children's book yet. And I went into a bookstore for a signing, a used bookstore, and I just walked in, turned to my right, and there was the book, Angel Unaware, face up, looking at me. So, of course, I bought it, read it, loved it. It's such a wonderful story. And so, as I wrote my memoir, I I remembered that book and talked about how my students changed my life. And I want to give you one story about that. Well, unfortunately, I lost my daughter Kate in a car accident years ago, and I had to go back to school. Well, it was about 2 weeks later that I went back to school, and the other teachers were lovely, and people really helped out. People were so kind, and I really didn't know how I'd go on. And I was a teacher of a vocational program, which I loved, and students would volunteer and they would sometimes get jobs. And it was a wonderful job. I mean, people say, love how you work, and it's not work. Well, that was my job. I loved my job. So the first day that I came back, Mary, my student, I'll call her, was waiting for me in the van, and we were going to go to her volunteer site. And Mary has Down syndrome, and not a coincidence. And I got in the van and I saw tears streaming down her face. And I said, "What's the matter? What's wrong?" And she didn't look at me, but she just quietly said, "I'm sorry about your daughter." Her mother, a lovely woman, had told her that Kate had passed away. And I was so struck by the fact that what a quiet teenager with a great sense of humor. But here she had expressed this adult sympathy to me. And she was so kind. And over the years, as I went on to retirement, my students taught me about love and life and humor. And they worked hard to succeed in their jobs. And I was so grateful that I had read that book, and finally had read that book by Dale Evans, because she just captured it, the beauty within of people with disabilities. And I feel very fortunate and blessed that I was a special education teacher, and very glad that I wrote my memoir, Children with Special Needs: The Angels on My Shoulder, because it really was a story of love. And so I hope to see you next time.